Alright, now am I on camera? Alright, now I'm on camera. So, hey guys, welcome to another DIY Live. I've had a few comments and requests to show kind of the tools I use to do my DIY stuff, where I do it, and just the materials I use. So that's what this video is going to be about. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I've got my computer right over there, and I'll do my best to answer them. It's kind of the idea with this whole live thing, and with this video especially, is just going to be an interactive question and answer type of thing. So if you have questions, let me know. I'm also, I borrowed this 360 camera. It's a 360 by 180, so it records 360 degree video on a complete domed plane. And I'm going to record this whole thing with this camera and see what happens. I just borrowed this camera, but we'll see. It could be really cool. So if you're wondering what that is moving around, that's just a camera. And unfortunately I can't do live from this camera as far as I know, but in the future, maybe. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let me figure out how to make this thing, oh, it's recording. Alright, so. Oh wow, I already have a lot of people, that's crazy. Hello everybody. Alright, so, well, I guess I will start just by showing some of my tools I use. Get this chair out of the way. Let's start with an overview of where, actually, before I do anything, is the audio okay? Okay? Is the music in the background too loud? Anything like that? Just let me know.
Music heard and sold worldwide on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, and over 150 digital music stores. You need TuneCore music distribution.
Oh boy, commercials.
All
right, so
250,000 artists sell their music worldwide with TuneCore.
Okay, cool. Audio's good. So for this live video, I actually picked up some lights because I have horrible lighting in the apartment. So I will just back out here and show you how crazy this looks from a distance. This is where I shoot most of my videos, and it's where I've done all of my live videos so far. And this is where I do all of my designing, planning, anything DIY related. I used to just kind of do it wherever I could, but I've found that having an actual space to design and build in is super helpful, especially for doing things faster, speeding up the whole process. And then there's a sewing machine. That's where all the sewing gets done. I'll go into detail on that later. There's a window. There's some roommate working on a pack. And I can go into detail on this later too, but this is kind of like my supply shelf. It's where I keep all of my materials and my printer. Over here you can see the rolls of random stuff. Got some 3D mesh, X-Pack, a few different rolls of X-Pack of different qualities I've been experimenting with. Way up there is some foam I'm using for pack drafts. Over here is all sorts of random stuff, from ripstop nylon, some hex nylon, mosquito netting, super light stuff from ripstop by the roll, grid stop, some stretchy stuff, netting for pockets, some Cordura, camera stuff. Down here, foil tape, grosgrain ribbon of all sorts of webbing, and different types of webbing. It's been a real struggle for me to find a webbing that works well with pack straps. It's surprisingly hard for some reason. printer shipping supplies for DIY Club now. A new roll of Reflectix for more cozy kits coming out. And that's kind of the shelf here. Don't have too many supplies. So let's go back over to the studio. That makes it sound really official. I'm going to check to see if there's any questions yet. Nope. Cool. Alright, so tools I use. Oh, I didn't even take the camera. Oh well. So, number one tool I would recommend for anybody is this thing right here. It's called an Omni Grip. Oh, there you go. And it's essentially just, it's a roller, so it's got an inch grid on it and all sorts of micro markings and lines. It's extremely helpful for putting out patterns, for just drawing, trying to draw straight lines, anything like that, making measurements. This is my number one tool that I use. I would highly recommend it if you're going to be doing any sort of DIY. Really helpful. And if you pair that with this other tool, let's bring the camera in. So this is another tool that I actually just recently got turned on to. It's a rotary cutter. And what this is a circular razor blade, essentially. And you just cut along. I use these rollers here to actually help me guide the rotary cutter. Make really straight lines. It's really good at cutting through thick material. Has no issues with X-Pack or anything like that. Pretty nice. I've heard a lot of warnings to be careful that when you're actually cutting your lines, make sure your fingertips aren't overhanging so you don't cut your fingertips off, because this thing is really sharp. But yeah, I've been really digging this. It's a new tool to me. As far as using it, I actually have this thing underneath this giant grid is known as a cutting mat, and it's what's called a self-healing cutting mat. So you can cut all over it, and it makes a very fine mark, but it's almost imperceptible. So you don't have all these gashes and marks that throw off your cutting as the mat gets older and you use it more and more. So it's really helpful for cutting things out. It gives you a nice solid place to cut them on. And it's better than scissors. So that's one thing. Let's see. Oh, thread. I'll get to thread in a minute when I go over to the sewing machine. Thread is complicated. So, what else? I use the grid to measure things, use this rotary cutter to cut them out. Rotary cutter can't always be used, and sometimes if you're cutting out curves, it's actually helpful to have scissors. I don't have any recommendations on scissors. I just use Fiskars, or Fiskars, whatever it's called. And one thing I do recommend, though, is keeping them nice and sharp. So I have this little tool here, and it is just a little cheap knife sharpener made for scissors. So I guess it's a scissor sharpener. And all you have to do is just run the scissors in and out, put a little bit of pressure on it so it's rubbing up against the blade, and this will keep your scissors sharp for anything. This is really important if you're cutting X-Pack or anything with Dyneema in it, because that type of strand of fabric is really rough on sharp edges. Dyneema, if you use your scissors to cut foil tape like I do, you want to keep them sharp. Anything like that, it's just good to keep them sharp all the time. So get a little cheap scissor sharpener. Yeah, actually, I'll put links up to all of these things. Maybe I'll put a posting on my website, and these commercials suck. I'll put a posting for this live video on my website, and I'll link to some of the different things I use. Most of these I got off of Amazon, so you can get the exact same thing. Alright, scissors, cutting. Oh. So this is a recent acquisition for me, but this is a hot knife. Essentially it's just a soldering iron, but with a razor blade on the end there. You can see it's got a lot of built up plastic on it. But what I use this hot knife for is sealing the ends of my wallets. So if you look at this DIY wallet, the lighting's not great. Let's come over this way. Oops. So the edges on these wallets have to be sealed off so they don't fray at all. And I just use the hot knife, smooth it right over there, and that lets it forms it into a solid, pretty much indestructible little piece of plastic. So that's what I mostly use this hot knife for. In the future, I'm thinking about cutting fabric with it, because a lot of these lightweight fabrics tend to fray a bit, and sealing it off with a hot knife will keep that from happening. So hot knife also doubles as a soldering iron. Useful tool, pretty cheap. I think it was like 18 bucks, and it's really improved the corners on my wallets. Alright, so hot knife. What else? I'll show you guys this just as something to keep in mind in the future. So I oftentimes use a compass to draw out circles of varying distances in my projects, but problem with the compass is it can only get so big. So what I like to do is, this is the top of a Cheerios box, and it's just a really dense cardboard so it holds its shape well, but just draw out a straight line, put a hole right on this intersection here, and then measure out the distance you need for the compass, the radius of the circle, and put another hole right where you need the pencil to go through. Take your mechanical pencil, shove the lead through the little hole there. You probably can't see that, but it comes out the edge. And then just stick a pin in this hole and you have a perfect little compass, and you don't have to buy one. Really handy. Good way to do circles. Actually, that is how I just came up with a new prototype for a pack. This is going to be the bottom of a backpack, but I used the cardboard compass down there to make all of this, to make this circle first off, and then to make all of these markings to actually divide this circle into thirds. Really handy, easy way, you don't have to buy anything. So that's compasses. Oh, let's see. What else to show? One thing that always comes in handy is a soft measuring tape. So this tape is useful. I mean, you can use it for measuring small things out if you need to. It's really not ideal for that. It's more ideal for taking measurements either on yourself if you need to figure out how long the pack strap needs to be, or how wide your hips are, or if you just need to take dimensions on something that you're trying to duplicate, or just like, say I have this ice axe and I want to make a holder for it on my backpack. All I have to do, take the soft tape, and you can run it along to get the exact length of the ice axe and work with that. You can run it around the perimeter to get a circumference if you need a circumference. Really handy. Soft tape, super cheap, you can find it anywhere. Really useful. Also good for figuring out circle diameters based on the circumference. As a side note, never buy these scissors, they're really horrible. Same brand, Fiskars, but they just have not done well. No new comments. Let's back out here. And I will show you something super nerdy. This is my parts cart. Can that see? Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so this is my parts cart. On this cart I have everything I need on any given project. So if I'm over here sewing, bring that in closer. If I'm over there sewing, I can just wheel this cart over. I have easy access to everything. On the very top rack I have anything I need to get to fast. So in this little bin here I have, I'll go into that later, but whoops, I have extra thread, random little buckles and things that sometimes I need on a pack. And I really like having these little quick bins because you can just take them out, throw them on the sewing table when you need them. These are from IKEA and they have a grippy bottom, so they're pretty handy. But yeah, you can see in here I keep pins and a lighter for sealing off seams and threads, stuff like that. Other things, I just keep random post-it notes. That shouldn't be there. I keep the patterns for my wallets I'm making up here because I access them pretty often. And that again is made out of a Cheerios box, just because it's a really nice dense cardboard. These are not something I've used yet, but in the future with a project that's coming up, which I will be live streaming, I'll be using these, which are digital calipers. I haven't really tested them much yet, so I'm excited to see how they work. Okay, so that's my top part of the parts cart, really easy access. On the next level I have little odds and ends that I use every so often. And I keep them in a little plastic bin. But within this bin I have, let's bring it back over so we can get some lighting. In this bin I have different types of grow grain of different widths and colors. And then the fun stuff are all of these crazy little buckles. So I have, whoops, like 1-inch tri-glides here, big buckles for hip belts, stuff like that. These aren't showing up too well. There we go. Hip belt buckles, little tri-glides for 5/8 inch webbing. D-rings, pack strap, like breast strap buckles, all sorts of different stuff from different websites that I've just been experimenting with. Here are some cord locks. And some zipper in here. That's about it. So that kind of covers my general parts. That goes back in the parts cart. It's also cool to have a parts cart because you can say parts cart, and that's a pretty fun word. So, let's see, is that showing up? In the bottom of the parts cart, I just have random materials that I might need access to. And like here you can see I have some Dyneema cordage. This is, I forget what it's called now, but it's just a really strong cordage. I was planning on making some hammock suspension with this. I've got some other cordage, some purple piece of X-Pack if I ever need to test something out. And just a little bin of random parts that I may need. Heat shrink tubing, a few one-off buckles, some carbon fiber rod things. Yeah, nothing too special. Oh yeah, DIYlive. That is the term I'm looking for. And yeah, that pretty much covers the parts cart. For those wondering, the music is by Lakey Inspired. He's on Bandcamp, and it's good stuff. Alright. What else to go into now? Is there anything I haven't covered that you've seen that you want more info on? A durable bell. Alright, let's see. Oh, utensils. So this is my little bin of random things I use. Number one thing I use is this mechanical pencil. It's a Graph Gear 1000. I really like it. It's really comfortable grip, super accurate. You can adjust it depending on the lead type you're using and the hardness of the lead or graphite. But yeah, it's just a really nice mechanical pencil. You can retract the tip so it doesn't break. Really handy for drawing things out, and it's erasable. And on that note, this is just a giant eraser pen, so you can, just like a pencil, you can click out the eraser. Really handy, simple. Beyond that, Sharpies always come in use at some point, as do fine tip Sharpies. Some materials like X-Pack don't take pencil. Some of the X-Pack takes pencil, some of it doesn't. If it doesn't, I'll probably use a Sharpie. Or if it's really dark material, I will actually use a white eyeliner pen. So, Wet n Wild. This is just an eyeliner pen from a makeup section, but it's really good if you need to mark out lines on a dark material where no other pen or pencil will work. Keep that in mind. Hole puncher. Don't use it often, but it's handy when you do need it. And the rest of this stuff are just random pens that I draw with. I got these on Amazon too. They're just Micron drawing pens. I really like them, but they're nothing special. And this is an old Snow Peak pot that I never used. So that's drawing stuff. Any hike planned? Those are Pigma pens, by the way, yeah. Pigma Micron. Sewing machine's coming. Hello, John. I don't have a hike planned for this summer, this year, just because I'm trying to be stable and actually earn a little bit of an income so I can hike again. But I will definitely be hiking in the future. I don't know what. But this year I'm definitely going to be getting out on the weekends, doing some weekend hiking and maybe some longer stuff. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But hiking's happening, just not a long trail this year. Current EDC. I can do that. So, EDC. First thing, wallet. Oh, probably shouldn't have shown that. This is my wallet I use every day now. I just made it not too long ago, but it's one of my ones that I sell to. A knife. I carry a knife every day just because there's so many things I cut. And because I use it every day, I went all out and got a Spyderco Paramilitary 2. So it's just a really nice knife. It's big enough that it can do anything I need it to. It's got a back lock, so it's not going to come unlocked on you. And it's made right down the road, 15 minutes away in Golden, Colorado, which is pretty cool. It's expensive, but if it's the only knife you need in your life, why not get a good one? Alright, so wallet, knife, my keys. I don't know, they're just keys. I have this little thing which is really handy. It's made by somebody, Chums. I got it for free at OR, but it's got a little tool in it that can open bottles. It has a little screwdriver on it, and it also has all of my keys in it, so it makes it really easy to get indoors. Yep. And other than that, I sometimes have my sunglasses with me, and I have my phone, and that's about it. Keys, wallet, knife, sunglasses, phone. That's my EDC. Yeah, I live in Colorado, near Denver. Okay, what next? There's some orders getting ready to, pot cozies getting ready to go out. Parts cart. How about, I guess we'll move on to the sewing machine. Alright. Move this light over. Cool thing about this lighting is that you can pivot it and light the sewing machine when you need to. Alright, so this is not actually my sewing machine, it's my roommate's, but it's an extremely nice machine to work on. And it is an industrial machine. It's what's called a KingMax GC 8700. And we need some better lighting here. That's better. Alright. So it's a KingMax GC 8700. It's got a servo motor. So what that means is it's really quiet to operate. I'll just take this off here. I'll let you see the underside. That's the motor. It's got a belt drive up to here. And this is the gas pedal. And this thing, you may not have seen one of these if you haven't worked on an industrial machine, but it's actually really cool. So here's the presser foot here. You can use this little lever with your knee to lift up the presser foot. So unlike on a home machine like I have, you don't have to keep moving the foot up and down between projects, or between stitches, I guess. You can just use this. Really handy. On the machine, there is this little light you can kind of bend around. It comes on. Yeah. So yeah, also, this down here is basically a throttle, so you can make this thing go, let's see. You can make it go slow. Probably shouldn't have thread in there. There we go. So it can go slow, or you can make it go really fast, which I never do. Yeah. Let's get this back on the tripod here. But yeah, so far, benefits I've found of working on this machine is that it's super, I mean, it'll go through any fabric I throw at it. I've never had something it can't get through. It's really nice for that. Unlike my Kenmore or whatever it is home machine, I mean, this thing never jams. I've never broken a needle. I have bent a needle on accident trying to sew through something that was too thick, but this thing will punch through anything you throw at it. That said, this model is only a single stitch machine, so you can only do a straight stitch. You can't do bar tacks, you can't do any sort of embroidery or anything like that. This literally just does a straight stitch the whole way. And There are other machines that have walking feet, so feet that actually move with the fabric to pull it along better. This one doesn't. I haven't found it necessary yet, but I'd imagine if you were doing big production that it would be necessary. I'm going to check to see if there are any questions. So for the question about insect repellent, I've never used it, really. I know some people use DEET. I really don't like messing with DEET just because it could be lethal in the long run. I don't know. Permethrin, I've used a bit. I've never really noticed it making much of a difference, but I do know people that swear by it, and before a long hike, they will actually bathe their clothing in permethrin to ward off insects. But that said, I think on the AT and on the PCT and the CDT, for each trail there was probably a week where mosquitoes were bad and I needed a bug net, and outside of that I didn't need one at all. So I'm sure up north the bugs get a lot worse and you do need something, but I haven't really used anything in the past, so I don't have a great suggestion for you there. Alright, so that's the sewing machine. Maybe in a different video I'll show how to actually thread it. That's a whole another topic though. And what else? Thread. So I've been experimenting with thread lately. It's not something I used to do, so I'm kind of new to thread too. But in the past I've always used Gutermann thread. Let's see if that'll focus. Maybe you can make that out. It's a Gutermann thread. This is Gutermann Mara, which is kind of a lighter weight polyester thread. One thing I will say is when you're working with thread and you're making outdoor gear, you definitely want to use 100% polyester. It's more resistant to UV. It's not going to break down over time like cotton will, and it's a little stronger than most threads. Although nylon thread can get really strong too. So this is what I use most of the time. This is a thinner thread, so it's more of a do-it-all. It's a really good for quilting, stuff like that. Not quilting, but like backcountry quilting. And that's what all of these colored rolls are, mostly because this all came from Ripstop by the Roll and DIY Gear Supply. For heavier projects, and again, this is Gutermann thread, but this is their outdoor heavy-duty series. Let's see. I forget what they call it. On here it says M782, but it's just a thicker 100% polyester thread. And because it's thicker, I use this on backpacks, especially around the straps and the hip belt, places that see a lot of stress. And I also increase the stitch length, that knob, when I'm using this larger thread, because it just tends to work a little better with a longer stitch length. So that is that thread. This is a cheap roll of 100% polyester thread I got from Walmart, hoping that I could use it on projects because I didn't want to order another roll online. And it is absolutely horrible. So I would not get any thread from Walmart. I wouldn't get anything from Walmart, but if you can avoid it. But yeah, just even though it's 100% polyester and similar in thickness to these threads, I mean, I can break it by hand very easily. Wouldn't recommend it. This thread is a 100% nylon thread, so it's a little bit stronger, and it's got a UV treatment on it, so it's as resistant as the polyester thread to ultraviolet rays. So in theory, it should hold up well outdoors. But I've tried this thread on this machine, and I cannot get it to work well. I don't know what it is about nylon thread, but this machine does not like it. I end up with knots all the time and just broken seams. Doesn't work too well. So I think I'm going to stick with polyester thread. There you can see where it came from. Nylon bonded, UV treated. Yeah, not my favorite thread. So far I've been really happy with the Gutermann threads. Gonna see if there's any questions. Alright, let's see here. Is there anything else on the sewing machine you guys want to know about? I am working on producing gear for money for sale. I don't quite have the ability to do it now other than the wallets, but I probably will in the future, so you never know. That's definitely something I'm trying to work towards. Here, why don't we switch back over here? Get the parts cart. Also, plug the phone in. Alright. Do I ever dehydrate my own meals? I don't. I have a dehydrator, but I haven't experimented with it enough. Haven't had enough time to do it. I would really like to. I think if I do another long hike, I may dehydrate a bunch of meals and ship them out. We'll see. I don't know. Will it blend? Yes, it will blend, but I don't have a blender to prove it. Serious opinion on Palante packs. Interesting. I think Palante packs are awesome. It's definitely a niche. Like you definitely have to be a lightweight backpacker, ultralight to use them. I mean, you can obviously use it anytime you want, but for them to be at their peak effectiveness, you want to have a light load because you're carrying it on your shoulders. But that's what they're made for, and they're made really well. I think they're pretty cool. Plus, Handy Andy and John Z are cool, so I would support them. C to C route. I don't know if I know what that is. Sounds cool though. C to C. Do you know what it is? Let's get a live feed. Oh, camera's pulling.
C to C. I don't know.
And that's me.
No, I've definitely heard of it, but I forget where it goes.
Yeah. Where does it go?
What C to what C?
I don't think there's many trails I wouldn't want to hike. Maybe the Florida Trail. Favorite DIY project so far has been my pack, actually. Maybe here. Let's show up. I've had a lot of fun working on packs. It's definitely been the most challenging DIY project for me so far. Doing quilts and stuff like that is pretty straightforward. As soon as you get into packs, you have calculations for pack straps to think about, calculations for hip belts to think about. There's all of these different factors that go into making a pack that make it pretty difficult, actually. And so it's been a fun thing to figure my way through. And even though I just finished this pack, I'm already on to a new one. maybe I'll run down this pack real fast. This is just meant to be a through hiking pack, basically. It's got large water bottle pockets. The suspension on this pack runs from the corner up through the actual seam of the pocket, so it just came out. Have to fix that. But so it runs through this pocket, so when I cinch down the compression on this bag, it actually compresses the pocket too, so it keeps things in there, which I think is kind of cool. It also runs up to the top of this bag back here. I've always wanted a pack where you can just throw all the stuff you need for the day into the back mesh, and that's what I was shooting for with this. So it's a huge pocket. Aesthetically, it's not the most appealing look, but functionally it's really cool to have all of this room in here. I mean, you could stuff a quilt in there if you had to. Not that you would ever do that. But yeah, it's got a foam back panel on the inside, so it can actually hold a pretty decent sized load if it needs to. And just in testing so far, it's been pretty good with high or heavy loads. But I'm already prototyping the new one.
First search results, I came up with CDC trail in Israel, and I don't really think I want to hike in Israel right now.
The C2C trail is in Israel?
That was the first result. Second result was Andrew Skirka's CDC route.
Oh, it's
which
probably
was
Skirka's.
From the Atlantic to the Pacific.
That would be cool.
Those are oceans, so I don't know where he got that name from, but...
Alright. What else? Oh, I forgot this was going. 7,700 miles from the Pacific to the Atlantic. That sounds pretty cool. Who was the woman hiking with me on my last trip in Colorado? That's just a friend. She runs a blog called Treeline's Blog. You can go check it out. She does different adventure type stuff here in Colorado and elsewhere. Quilts for ground quilts. A good set of instructions is really hard to find. I am working on that with DIY Club, so I will hopefully have a quilt sometime. But in the meantime, if you go to Through Hiker, they have a pretty good kit that you can buy. I don't know if Ripstop has any info on that. There's not a lot of great info out there on quilt making, so I hope to change that soon. Maybe someone else in the comments knows a good place. Let's see. How did I go about designing the pockets? The pockets, actually I have, so this is a current pocket I'm working on right now for my new pack. Essentially it's just a trapezoid piece of fabric here. And, let's see. So to get that taper like that, where it moves downward, you just put an angle on the fabric. And you can see this is pretty similar. This piece of fabric is much wider than this distance here though. So what you have to do is put in, you either have to create a 3D pocket, which is adding a piece of material here to bump the pocket out, give it some room for bottles to fit into it. Or if you don't do a 3D pocket, you can do some pleats in the pocket, and this is what most people do. So you'll put some pleats in there, sew that down, and that'll give the pocket room to flex out, but you don't have to actually create a 3D pocket for that. So this pocket's 3D, this pocket is going to have some pleats in it. That's the very basics on how to do that. Trail hiking. The wings. Oh, these. Oops. These little wings. Is that what you mean? Yeah, these are really, I find them to be really handy, actually, in keeping the straps where they should be. Let's see. I guess that is most of the questions caught up. Is there anything else you guys want to see kind of focusing on the DIY tools and workspace topic? If you have any questions, leave them. I'll try to answer them. I'm trying to think what else I can talk about. Pins I use somewhat often, but not all the time. I actually find that I use these much more often, just little binding clips. A little easier to move and adjust than pins are. But pins can be handy. I haven't thought about making a belt, I guess. Oh, well, actually, this is my belt. Is this showing up? Can't tell. This is my belt that I use every day, and it's just made out of a little buckle, like a 1-inch pack buckle, and 1-inch webbing with a box stitch on it. It's really handy because you can take it off really fast. Not that you need to do that, but yeah, the knife is paramilitary too. Highly recommend it. I definitely did not go to school to sew. I kind of suck at sewing, but it's just getting better with time as I learn how to sew. So if I can sew, you guys can definitely sew too. I've worked on tints before, but I always get kind of tired with tints because they end up weighing so much, especially with sil nylon. I may do like a tarp tint in the future. Kind of trying to figure out what I should do for DIY Club as far as a shelter goes, and I'm leaning towards a tarp, but like a tarp tint's an option. They always tend to weigh too much. Also, I really like tarps because they're open, which sounds off at first, but it's really nice just to be out in nature. You're not enclosed in a tent. If something comes up, you see it, which is nice. My general stitch length is 2.5, I think. I don't even know what the increments are on the stitching, but the sewing machine pretty much stays between 2.5 to 3.5 when I'm doing projects. 3.5 is going to be like heavy duty pack stitching. 2.5 is going to be pretty much everything else. But I also don't know much about stitch length, so maybe there's better ways to be doing that. Yeah, alright, I guess that pretty much sums things up. If you have any more questions, let me know. Maybe I'll do one more lap around the workspace, and if that prompts any questions, put them in the comments and I'll answer them. But that about sums it up. I don't want this to drag on too long. Here is a prototype for my new pack I'm working on. It's essentially, I wanted to make a large capacity pocket like this, but in a sexier way without the kind of saggy look that this has. So I'm hoping that having a few panels like this that can stretch out like that will be cool. And that is just done through a little bit of stitching with some mesh. But what I really want to do is make this mesh here a really bright color, so when that pocket stretches out, it really pops. But we'll see if that works first. What else? That covers that. Yeah. Somewhere in this shot is a sneak peek at what's coming soon, but I'm not going to say what it is yet. Storage rack. If you didn't see it initially, this is just where all my materials are. So if you have any questions on those, let me know. Got the grow grain, webbing, zipper area here, and foil tape. The random fabric area, Cordura. This stuff is cool. It's a, it's a stretchy galaxy print. Been thinking about incorporating that into a pack at some point, but it looks really cool. Cordura, some grid stop, which I'm trying to move away from. I actually saw a video, or no, an article online where someone tested how strong this stuff was, and it did really horribly, so I'm trying to move away from grid stop. Quilt materials, lightweight, grid stops, stuff like that. Mosquito netting, random pieces of material, still nylon. I don't remember what's in there. And then up here is X-Pack. There's foam for making pack straps and 3D spacer mesh for pack projects. Yeah. Alright, so questions. Let me put this on the tripod. I haven't tried to make a pair of pants yet, but I would really like to. I really like the idea of making the perfect pair of pants that I wear all the time. So I may try that in the future, but I think I'm going to start with a pattern. That said, these are Mountain Hardwear AP pants, and they're the closest thing I've found to my perfect pair of pants so far. And I wear them pretty much every day. I would do the Superior hiking trail for sure, one day, hopefully. Color of a hiking shirt, I don't know. In the desert I tend to wear a lighter color because I feel like it reflects light and heat a little bit. I don't know how much that really affects it, but meh, I would just go with whatever you like, really. But I would recommend a long sleeve shirt so you can protect yourself from the sun if you need to. And actually it can be really cool in the desert to have long sleeves so you don't have the heat just bashing on you all day. So my mind says go with a light shirt. I don't know if it matters. I will definitely, so that's something I'm actually working on for my website, is like a master list of DIY supplies or suppliers. And so I'll probably post that soon. I need to work on it some more. So if you know any DIY suppliers that I've never mentioned that you really like, definitely put them in the comments and I'll check them out. So far it's mostly ripstopbytheroll.com. They're pretty great. He's pretty much the one that's pushing the boundaries of DIY gear supply sort of thing. he's really doing some cool stuff. He's doing some custom printing on outdoor fabrics. He's doing custom webbing printing. Really cool. So Ripstop by the Roll is my favorite. DIY Gear Supply is a classic standby. They have a lot of hardware. Dutchware has a lot of interesting stuff too. Trying to think of some others that I've used in the past. Dutch, DIY Gear Supply, Ripstop by the Roll. I'm getting my X-Pack from Rocky Woods, which is just down the road from me here. And I ordered some X-Pack from Quest Outfitters in Florida, and I should have had it shipped on a roll. It came folded up, and it really makes it hard to work with X-Pack or any material when it comes folded up like that. It's just not ideal. So if you're ordering X-Pack, if you can, it's a little more expensive, but I would recommend getting it on a roll. Can't think of any of the other DIY suppliers. There's a few more that I use, but mostly the ones I mentioned. I am going to make kits for my next projects. I'm not sure what my next kit's going to be. Right now I just have the Pot Cozy kit, and there's a few getting ready to be sent out today or tomorrow. But I will be having kits in the future. My ultimate plan is to have a full backpacking system. That's kind of my secret plan, is have a backpack, a shelter, a quilt, all the little accessories you need, and have it all fit together perfectly. And that's kind of where I want to push DIY Club, is to just have this awesome kit that you can build yourself. So hopefully that's where it goes. We'll see. I'm trying to start it small, get more people interested in actually making gear, and kind of have that knowledge spread so more people are making gear, and then hopefully get to that point. We'll see. Mac productivity tips? I don't know. What does that mean? Like editing, or? Not sure. When's the last time I cut my hair? I have no idea. I think it was the PCT maybe, or maybe a little after that. I don't know. So 2014 maybe. X-Pack is not really like Cuban fiber. It's a ripstop nylon bonded with something else and then gridded with Dyneema threads. So it's waterproof. It's nowhere near as light as Cuban is, but it's far more durable, maybe, in theory. I really like it because it's a great fabric to work with. It doesn't stretch much. It's super durable, so you know what you're making is going to last. And it's a really forward fabric. It doesn't pull, it doesn't stretch, so unlike sewing, even ripstop nylon, which tends to stretch a bit, this stuff is really easy to work with. And waterproof. I guess that pretty much sums it up. Yeah. If you have any more questions, you can send them in the comments or on my website or something. I'll try to get back to you. But I guess that wraps it up. I was trying to keep it around an hour here, so that works. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you want to see next live. I have a lot of projects I'm working on, so thinking about just live streaming as I work on a project. I don't know if that's something that interests people. It would definitely be a really long, possibly really boring video, but it may be helpful if you want to get into your own designing and building. Not that I'm one to follow. I'm not very great. But yeah, so more live streaming coming, and I can do that real fast. Ice Axe brand is a Petzl. It's a Petzl Summit Ice Axe. It's not one of the lightest ones, but it's light enough, and the head is actually forged. It's not like a stamped or laser cut head. So it's a lot stronger of a head and pretty light. And I'm happy with it. I don't know. It's an ice axe. I don't use it that often, but it's nice to have when you might need it. But yeah, thanks for watching. More live streaming coming, more DIY club coming, more videos, and hopefully some hiking videos soon too. See you guys next time.